Okay, so this is the first in a series of videos that is going to go over the molecules of life that I mentioned before. We have carbohydrates, proteins, lipids, and nucleic acids. I'm going to do each one in a separate video because if I do them all together, that's going to be like a half an hour, and no one wants to sit around watching a tutorial video for half an hour. So over the next few days, I will upload the videos, and then I'll give you the weekend to take the time to watch each of the videos. There will be 4 of them, one for each of the classes of compounds. And then maybe Sunday evening or Monday morning, I will give you an assignment to do for this. So today is going to be, or this video is going to be about carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are made of only 3 elements, carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, and they are in a ratio of 1 to 2 to 1. For example, the formula for glucose is C6H12O6, and you can see there if you break that down, it's 1 to 2 to 1. Remembering from the video on Monday where I talked about all of these molecules are either polymers or macromolecules, but they are built using monomers, the basic unit that is just repeatedly built to form a bigger molecule. The monomer for carbohydrates is monosaccharide, and we put 2 of those together to form a disaccharide, and then of course 3 or more are polysaccharide. Saccharide meaning I think carbohydrate, maybe sugar, I'm not quite sure. Okay, so starting with monosaccharides, these are the monomer of the carbohydrate. We also call them simple sugars. The general formula for a monosaccharide is CH2O in brackets and then a small n. This font for some reason is like it's only all caps, so that should be a small lowercase n, where n is a number between 3 and 8. So for example, for glucose, n is equal to 6. Now, for monosaccharides, we have what are called isomers. Isomers are, let's stay here. Isomers are different compounds that have the same general formula, the same chemical formula, but different structural formula. Okay, I guess I don't say anything else about that. But to compare these 3 isomers of monosaccharides, we have glucose, fructose, and galactose. Now, I'm assuming that you all see how very obviously fructose is different in structure than both glucose and galactose. But unless you really look carefully at glucose and galactose, they look almost identical. But all you have to do is look at these side chains here on either side, and basically what side chains on glucose are just flipped 180 degrees for galactose. Otherwise, they're exactly the same. So that is isomers, same formula, different structure. Now, for disaccharides, you're going to put 2 monosaccharides together during a condensation reaction, which I taught you in the previous video, where you take the hydrogen from one molecule and a hydroxyl group from another molecule, which produces a water molecule and forms the bond there between the 2 monosaccharides, and now you have a disaccharide. 2 common disaccharides is maltose. You might not have heard of this before, maybe you have, I don't know, but when you eat carbohydrates, you have an enzyme in your saliva called salivary amylase that starts to break down the complex carbohydrates like starch into disaccharides like maltose. And another very common disaccharide is sucrose, which is sugar. Now we get to polysaccharides, which, like I said, is 3 or more monosaccharides. Poly, of course, meaning many. And as I said, when you eat any carb-heavy food like bread, pasta, and potatoes, those contain the polysaccharide starch. Right. Now, if we have excess glucose in our blood that we're not using for energy at the moment, it is put together in a large branched complex molecule, which you see there in the diagram. This is called glycogen. For animals, we store glycogen mostly in the liver, but there's a small amount of glycogen which is stored in the muscles, just in case you need it as quick energy. For example, like in a fight or flight type of situation where you have adrenaline running and you're going to need to use your muscles to run away or to fight a perceived danger, something like that. And like you saw from the diagram, it is a very highly branched chain consisting of hundreds of glucose molecules. Get that to stay there. All right, now plants store excess glucose in a different molecule. They store it in a molecule called cellulose, and it is found in the cell walls of plants. It gives strength and rigidity to plant cells and makes up about 50% of wood. And you can see here the diagram for cellulose. Cellulose is made of thousands of glucose molecules. It's a very, very complex molecule. And also, as a side note, mammals do not have any enzymes that break down cellulose. So when we eat vegetables or any plant-based food, we are not able to digest cellulose at all. And you might think, well, there's animals that are vegetarian, right? I mean, people are vegetarian, of course, but when you, there's two kinds of mammals that can break down, not even break down, but like can deal with cellulose, like cows and horses, and they have completely different digestive systems that have a mechanism to deal with that, and it involves fermentation and bacteria and stuff.